The skies over Seattle hadn't been blue for 3 months, not since the Nexari arrived with their crystalline ships that refracted sunlight into perpetual twilight. Reese Thompson watched from the abandoned Space Needle's observation deck as another patrol of drumships cut through the heavy clouds, their angular forms casting strange shadows on the ruined city below. She adjusted the scope of her modified rifle, more out of habit than necessity. The weapon wouldn't do much against Nexari tech, but old military habits died hard. 15 years in strategic operations had taught her to always be prepared, even when preparation seemed futile. The data tablet at her side blinked with another confirmed casualty report. The resistance network was getting smaller by the day. What had started as an organized military response had devolved into scattered groups of survivors, each trying to protect what little remained of humanity. A strange resonance caught her attention, different from the usual Nexari frequencies. Reese pulled out her scanner, a cobbled-together device that Dr. Patel had modified before the fall of the last military base. The readings were unlike anything she'd seen before, a pulsing energy signature that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Movement in the streets below drew her eye. A figure darted between the shadows, too fast and too precise to be human. Reese's breath caught as she recognized the telltale shimmer of Nexari active camouflage. But this wasn't a standard patrol. The figure moved with purpose, heading straight for the source of the strange energy reading. Reese made her decision quickly. Whatever the Nexari was hunting had to be important. She secured her gear and moved silently through the Space Needle's maintenance shafts, years of training guiding her movements. The world outside might have changed, but urban warfare hadn't. The trail led her to what remained of the Pacific Science Center. The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity's temple to scientific achievement, now a hunting ground for beings whose technology made ours look like stone tools. The Nexari hunter had stopped moving, hovering over something half buried in the rubble. As Reese watched through her scope, the alien's camouflage flickered and failed, revealing a form that still sent chills down her spine despite months of conflict. The Nexari stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body covered in what looked like liquid metal armor that shifted and flowed with each movement. But it was the eyes that caught her attention, not the usual cold, calculating glow of their species, but something different, almost uncertain. The object in the rubble pulsed once, and Reese's scanner nearly overloaded. The Nexari reached down, but before it could grab whatever it was, a section of collapsed ceiling gave way. The alien moved with incredible speed, but not quite fast enough. The debris caught its leg, pinning it momentarily. Reese knew she should take the shot. Trapped Nexari were rare, and even with her limited weaponry, she might be able to do some damage. But something held her back. The way the alien moved, the hesitation she'd seen. It wasn't behaving like any Nexari she'd encountered before. The decision was made for her when the buried object pulsed again, stronger this time. The energy wave knocked both her and the Nexari off balance. As the dust settled, Reese found herself staring at a device about the size of a basketball, its surface covered in shifting geometric patterns that seemed to respond to her gaze. The Nexari spoke, its voice a mixture of electronic tones and something almost organic. "Human, you should not be here." Reese kept her rifle trained on the alien, even though she knew it would probably be useless. "Funny. I was about to say the same thing about you. You don't understand what you're involving yourself in." The Nexari's armor rippled, attempting to free its trapped leg. "That device cannot fall into the wrong hands. And I'm supposed to believe your hands are the right ones." Reese took a step closer to the device. "After what your people did to our world." The alien's next words surprised her. "No, perhaps not." Before either could say more, the device pulsed a third time. This time, the energy signature was different, focused, almost alive. It reached out with tendrils of light, connecting both human and alien in a web of impossible geometry. Reese felt something probe her mind, not invasive but curious, as if testing her intentions. The Nexari made a sound she'd never heard from their kind before, something between surprise and revelation. As the energy field subsided, the alien's eyes met hers, and Reese saw something that would change everything. Understanding. The silence in the ruins of the Pacific Science Center was broken only by the soft hum of the mysterious device and the subtle movements of the Nexari's liquid metal armor. Reese kept her distance, weapon ready, though something told her the dynamics had shifted irreversibly. "My designation is Ven," the Nexari said, its voice carrying an unfamiliar note of uncertainty. "And I believe we have both been deceived." Reese's finger remained steady on the trigger. Deceived about what? The alien's armor rippled again, finally freeing its leg from the debris. But instead of attacking, Ven remained still, those strange eyes fixed on the pulsing device. That artifact was not meant to be a weapon. It was meant to be a bridge. The device's glow intensified as if responding to the words. Reese felt a strange resonance in her mind, like standing too close to a speaker playing a frequency just below human hearing. A bridge between what? Between understanding and ignorance. Between species. Ven's armor shifted, revealing intricate patterns that seemed to mirror the device's geometric designs. The Nexari Collective told us Earth needed to be cleansed, that humans were a primitive species whose resources could better serve the galaxy. But this artifact, it shows truth. A distant explosion rattled the building's remains. Through the broken ceiling, Reese could see more Nexari ships moving into position. "Your friends don't seem too interested in truth. They are not my friends now." Ven's tone carried a weight of finality. "The artifact's energy has severed my connection to the collective. For the first time since my creation, I am individual." Reese's tactical training screamed that this was a trap, but her instincts told her otherwise. The device pulsed again, and this time she saw flashes, memories that weren't her own. She saw the Nexari civilization, vast and beautiful but cold, built on absolute unity of thought and purpose. She saw Ven's training, the systematic removal of doubt and individual will. And she saw the moment the device had shattered those bonds. "They're coming for both of us now," Ven said, moving slowly to stand. "The collective cannot allow either of us to survive, not with what we know." Above them, the Nexari ships began deploying search drones. The mechanical hunters descended like metallic insects, their sensors already sweeping the area. Reese made her decision, though she knew it might get her killed. "There's a resistance bunker 3 blocks east," she said, securing her rifle. "If we're going to survive this, we need to move now." Ven's armor rippled in what she was beginning to recognize as agreement. "The artifact comes with us." Reese moved to retrieve the device, surprised at how light it felt despite its size. The moment her hands touched it, the geometric patterns shifted, adapting to her presence. "Whatever this thing is, we can't let them have it." They moved through the ruins like shadows, Ven's knowledge of Nexari patrol patterns complementing Reese's urban warfare experience. The drones were everywhere, their red scanning beams cutting through the perpetual twilight. Twice they had to hold position as hunter units passed overhead, Reese's heart pounding so loud she was sure it would give them away. The device seemed to respond to their situation, its glow dimming when stealth was needed, pulsing in warning when danger approached. Reese found herself wondering if it was truly a machine or something else entirely. "The collective fears this technology," Ven explained as they paused in the shelter of a collapsed overpass. "Not for its power, but for what it reveals. Our unity, our perceived superiority. It's all built on controlled perception. And this thing breaks that control." Reese watched as another wave of drones passed, their search pattern growing tighter. "It does more than break it. It shows truth, creates understanding between minds that should never be able to connect." Ven's armor shifted, adapting to better blend with their surroundings. "What you felt, what you saw of my memories, that should be impossible. Our species' neural patterns are completely alien to each other. Yet here we are." The bunker entrance was ahead, concealed beneath the ruins of what had once been a coffee shop. As they approached, Reese felt the device's pulse change, becoming more urgent. "Warning. Company," Ven said, moments before the air itself seemed to tear open. A Nexari battle platform materialized above them, its weapons already charging. Behind them, hunter units converged, cutting off their escape. From the battle platform emerged a figure that made even Ven's liquid metal armor ripple in recognition. The command unit stood nearly 10 feet tall, its armor black as deep space, eyes burning with cold fury. "Designation Ven." The command unit's voice resonated through their bones. "You have failed containment protocols. The artifact must be secured. Submit for immediate termination." Reese raised her rifle, knowing it was useless but unwilling to go down without a fight. Beside her, Ven's armor formed into deadly blades. The device in her arms pulsed once more, and in that moment, she understood what had to be done. "Ven," she said quietly, "do you trust me?" The Nexari warrior turned those strange, understanding eyes to her. "Yes." Reese smiled, her fingers finding the geometric patterns on the device's surface. "Then let's show them what a bridge is really for." The world exploded into light. Reese felt the artifact respond to her touch, its geometric patterns flowing like liquid beneath her fingers. The energy that pulsed through her wasn't painful. Instead, it felt like remembering something she'd long forgotten. The command unit's weapons discharged, but the energy bolts never reached their targets. They dissolved into particles of light that swirled around Reese and Ven, drawn into the artifact's expanding field. Ven's armor resonated with the same frequency, creating a harmonic that made reality itself seem to bend. "Impossible." The command unit's voice carried genuine emotion for the first time. "Fear." The artifact was damaged, non-functional. "No," Ven replied, liquid metal armor flowing like quicksilver as it synchronized with the artifact's power. It was waiting. Reese felt understanding flood her mind. The artifact wasn't just a bridge between species. It was a key to unlocking something far more fundamental. Through its connection, she saw the truth of the Nexari, saw how their quest for perfect unity had led them to lock away the very things that made consciousness precious. Doubt, growth, the beautiful uncertainty of free will. The hunter units opened fire, their weapons transformed by the artifact's field into pure data that Reese somehow understood. Each shot revealed more of the Nexari's hidden history. Their rise from a species of individuals to a collective, the price they paid for unity, the fear that drove them to stamp out any civilization that might choose a different path. The artifact must be contained. The command unit's voice boomed as it activated its full combat protocols. Its black armor expanded, forming a cocoon of destructive energy around it. The unity must be preserved. But Reese and Ven were no longer fighting as separate entities. Through the artifact's connection, they'd moved as one. Ven's liquid metal armor extended, forming a protective shell around them, both as Reese guided the artifact's energy with instincts she didn't know she possessed. The command unit's attack shattered windows for blocks around, but it couldn't penetrate their shared defense. Each assault was absorbed, understood, and transformed. The hunter units tried to flank them, only to find their coordination disrupted by pulses of enlightened energy from the artifact. "You fear this connection," Ven called out to the command unit, "because it proves everything you built our society on is wrong. Unity doesn't come from control, it comes from understanding." Reese felt the truth of those words in her very being. Through their connection, she experienced Ven's centuries of existence, the quiet doubts that had plagued the warrior even under the collective's control. In return, Ven felt her humanity, the chaotic, beautiful mess of emotions and contradictions that made up a human soul. The command unit launched itself forward, its weapon systems overloading in a last desperate attack. "The collective is perfection. We will not be corrupted by chaos." The artifact pulsed one final time, and Reese understood its true purpose. It hadn't been designed as a weapon or even a tool. It was a gift, left behind by something far older than either humans or Nexari. a means to break down the barriers between conscious minds, to show that true unity could only come from accepting and embracing difference. Through their shared consciousness, Reese and Ven reached out together. The artifact's energy enveloped the command unit, not attacking but revealing. In that moment, the perfect facade of Nexary unity cracked. The command unit staggered as centuries of suppressed individuality flooded back. What? What is this? The command unit's voice lost its mechanical resonance, becoming something more organic, more real. Freedom, Reese answered, feeling Ven's agreement ripple through their connection. The freedom to be yourself, and still be part of something greater. The hunter units fell idle, their connection to the collective disrupted by the artifact's revelatory field. Above them, the battle platform's weapons powered down as its crew experienced their first moments of true individual consciousness in generations. But their victory was far from complete. Through the artifact's expanding awareness, Reese and Ven felt the larger Nexary fleet responding. Hundreds of ships were reorienting, their weapons preparing to glass the entire area rather than risk the spread of individual consciousness. They'll destroy everything. Ven's thoughts merged with Reese's. The collective would rather burn Earth to ash than face the truth about themselves. Reese looked at the artifact, its patterns now moving in perfect synchronization with her heartbeat. Then we'll have to show them the truth before they get the chance. The command unit, still struggling with its newly awakened individuality, looked up at them. The collective cannot be reached from here. Their ships are too far, too well shielded. Maybe not from here, Reese said, an idea forming in her mind as she felt Ven's knowledge flow through their connection. But what about from their own command ship? Ven's armor rippled with understanding and something else. Hope. It would be suicide. Reese smiled, feeling the artifact pulse in agreement with her plan. Maybe. But since when has humanity ever let that stop us? Getting to the Nexary command ship seemed impossible until they realized they already had everything they needed. The former command unit, who now called itself Ref, provided access codes. Ven's knowledge of Nexary protocols filled in the tactical gaps, and the artifact made the impossible possible. Through their shared consciousness, Reese and Ven formulated a plan that neither species would have conceived alone. They would use the battle platform's teleportation system, masked by the artifact's energy signature, to bypass the command ship's external defenses. The ship's core will be heavily guarded, Reth warned as they prepared. The collective keeps their primary consciousness nexus there. It's the source of their unity and their control. Reese checked her modified rifle one last time, more from habit than necessity. Through her connection with Ven, she knew the real weapon would be the artifact. How many guards? Numbers are irrelevant, Ven responded, liquid metal armor flowing with nervous energy. They'll be connected directly to the collective's primary consciousness. Every soldier will move with perfect coordination, share every thought, act as one. Good thing we've got something they don't. Reese patted the artifact, feeling its warm response to her touch. Free will. The teleportation was unlike anything Reese had experienced. For a moment, she felt her consciousness split across space, saw through 1,000 different perspectives simultaneously. Then reality snapped back into focus, and they were inside the command ship's massive hull. The interior was both beautiful and terrifying. Living metal flowed like rivers along the corridors, carrying data and energy in patterns that hurt the eyes to look at. Everything was connected, every surface part of the greater whole that was the collective's consciousness. Through their link, Ven guided them through maintenance shafts and secondary corridors. The artifact's energy field kept them hidden, bending light and sensor readings around them. But they could feel the ship's awareness, like an immense predator sensing something amiss in its territory. The core is different from what you might expect, Ven explained as they moved. It's not just a power source. It's where the collective first achieved unity, where they learned to merge consciousness across an entire species. Reese felt echoes of that history through their connection. And that's why we need to reach it. If we can use the artifact there, We can show the truth to every Nexari simultaneously. Ven's armor rippled with anticipation. But Reese, the truth might destroy them. Not everyone is strong enough to face themselves. They reached a vast circular chamber that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. The core rose before them like a tower of liquid starlight, streams of consciousness flowing in and out of it in endless rivers. Around its base, dozens of elite Nexari guards stood in perfect formation, their armor black as space itself. The artifact's pulse changed, becoming more urgent. Through it, Reese felt the core's true nature. It wasn't just the heart of the ship or even the collective. It was a monument to the moment when the Nexari had chosen perfect unity over individual growth, had decided that the messiness of free will was too high a price for evolution. "They're beautiful," Reese whispered, seeing the Nexari as they truly were for the first time. Not conquerors or monsters, but beings who had lost their way in the pursuit of perfection. The guards moved as one, weapons charging. The artifact must not reach the core. They spoke in perfect unison. The unity must be preserved. Ven's armor formed complex patterns that mirrored the artifact's geometry. The unity is a lie. Real connection comes from choice, from understanding, from. The guards opened fire. Energy beams that could vaporize steel converged on their position. But Reese and Ven moved as one, their shared consciousness guiding them through impossible gaps in the assault. The artifact's field expanded, turning deadly energy into revelatory light. The core, Reese gasped as they fought their way forward. It's not just storing their consciousness, it's suppressing it, keeping them from remembering who they were. Ven's understanding flowed through their link. The original Nexari, the ones who built this, they knew what they were giving up. They left failsafes. The guards pressed their attack, but with each moment, the artifact's influence grew stronger. Some began to hesitate, their perfect unity wavering as long-buried memories surfaced. The core's light pulsed faster, like a heart in panic. They were almost there when the chamber's main doors burst open. A figure stepped through that made even the guards fall back in perfect unison. The High Commander of the Nexari fleet stood twice as tall as the others, its armor a shifting maze of impossible geometries. Enough, its voice resonated through their bones. You have brought chaos to order, confusion to clarity. The experiment ends now. The High Commander raised its hand, and reality itself seemed to bend. The artifact's protective field wavered as forces beyond normal physics pressed in on them. Reese felt Ven's fear mix with her own determination. You're wrong, Reese shouted over the rising energy. Chaos is where life grows. Confusion is how we learn. You didn't create unity. You created stagnation. The artifact pulsed once more, and in that moment, Reese understood what they had to do. It wasn't about reaching the core anymore. The core was just a symbol, a remnant of an old choice. They had to make a new one. Ven, she called through their link, feeling the warrior's immediate understanding. Together. The liquid metal armor flowed around them both as they faced the High Commander. Together. The artifact began to shine with a light that no one in that chamber would ever forget. The artifact's light filled the core chamber, not with destruction but with truth. Through their shared consciousness, Reese and Ven became a conduit for something greater than either of their species had imagined possible. The High Commander's reality-bending attack met the artifact's power, and in that collision, everything changed. What you fear isn't chaos, Reese spoke, her voice carrying Ven's harmonics. It's growth, change, the possibility of failure. The artifact's energy spiraled outward, touching each guard in the chamber. One by one, their perfect formation wavered as buried memories surfaced. The High Commander fought back, channeling the core's power to maintain control, but something was different now. The artifact isn't a weapon. Ven continued, their shared understanding flowing through the connection. It's a mirror, showing us what we've lost, and what we could become. Through their link, Reese felt the truth of the Nexari's history unfold. Their original quest for unity had been born of love, of a desire to end conflict and suffering. But somewhere along the way, they had confused uniformity with harmony, control with connection. The High Commander's armor cracked, revealing glimpses of the being beneath, not a monster, but a child of a species that had lost its way. Without unity, we are nothing. Without control, we are chaos. Look deeper. Reese and Ven spoke as one. The artifact's light became a window, showing not just memories but possibilities. See what real unity looks like. Through the artifact's power, every being in that chamber experienced a moment of true connection. Not the enforced synchronization of the collective, but the genuine understanding that comes from bridging differences while maintaining individuality. They felt Earth's chaotic beauty, its endless variety of life and thought. They remembered what it meant to be Nexari before the collective, when they were a species of artists and dreamers and explorers. The High Commander staggered, its control slipping. This cannot. It already is, Reese said softly. You've always known it. That's why you fear species like humanity so much. We remind you of who you used to be. The core's light changed, its rhythm shifting from the mechanical precision of the collective to something more organic, more alive. The guard's perfect formation dissolved completely as centuries of suppressed individuality flowered in moments. The High Commander made one final attempt to restore control, channeling the core's full power. But the artifact had changed the game. Its light touched the core itself, and the truth could no longer be contained. Throughout the ship, throughout the fleet, throughout the entire Nexari civilization, the carefully maintained walls of enforced unity began to crack. Not shattering, but transforming, becoming bridges rather than barriers. Choice. Ven's voice carried wonder. After so long, we have choice again. The High Commander fell to its knees, its massive form shaking. What have you done? We didn't do anything, Reese replied. We just showed you what was already there. The connection you wanted, the unity you sought. It was never about control. It was about understanding. The artifact's light began to fade, but its effect remained. The guards looked at each other with new eyes, experiencing true individuality within connection for the first time in centuries. Through their link, Reese and Ven felt the change rippling through the entire Nexari civilization, not chaos, but awakening. The core's light stabilized, finding a new rhythm that honored both unity and diversity. The High Commander rose slowly, its armor now flowing with patterns that reflected its emerging individuality. We have much to remember, it said, its voice carrying the weight of personal choice for the first time in centuries. And much to repair. Reese felt Ven's agreement through their connection. The artifact had done its work, showing both species a path forward. Not perfect unity or complete independence, but something in between. A harmony of differences, a strength born from understanding rather than control. Earth? Reese asked, though she already felt the answer through their link. Will be restored, the High Commander promised. We will help rebuild what we tried to destroy. Not as conquerors or controllers, but as allies, if humanity will have us. The artifact pulsed one final time, its pattern stabilizing into a new configuration. It had changed too, evolving along with those it had helped transform. Through their connection, Reese and Ven understood that this wasn't an ending, but a beginning. Above them, the perpetual twilight caused by the Nexari ships began to clear. For the first time in months, pure sunlight streamed through the core chamber's crystal walls. Outside, the fleet was already beginning to shift, weapons systems powering down, shields reconfiguring from war to peace. It won't be easy, Ven said, liquid metal armor flowing into more organic patterns. Change never is. Reese smiled, feeling the truth of those words through their enduring connection. Nothing worth doing ever is, but we'll face it together. The artifact hummed softly between them, its light now a gentle reminder that the greatest strength comes not from dominating differences, but from bridging them. In its glow, human and Nexari stood together, ready to build something new from the ruins of the old. Dawn was breaking over Earth, and for the first time since the invasion, it brought not fear, but hope.